Welcome to our third part. Come back to our third part of our pretty much calculus review. So this is assignment number 3. Again, you don't have to add the 3 zeros. You can just put a 3 right over there. This is part 2 of every single way to solve for x, because we're going to need them eventually. Okay, solve each equation by completing the square. I realize that maybe some of your teachers do not teach it completing the square, would rather maybe the quadratic formula. It's okay. I'll just show you how this is done. I'm going to start you off with this. Well, we have a quadratic function, a parabolic function. N squared minus 6n minus 82 is equal to 8. Here is one way to do it. I'm going to put all these constants, these numbers, on one side so I can deal with this a little bit later. So I'm going to add the 82 on both sides. N squared minus 6n is equal to 90. Okay, then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this coefficient here next to the n, not the n squared, next to the n. What I'm going to do is divide this by 2. So this is your rule for completing the square. Cut it in half. That's negative 3. Once you have that, the negative 3, then square it. So negative 3 times negative 3 is going to be positive 9. We're going to balance the equation by adding 9 on both sides. So that's going to be our next step. I'm going to put some space over here. So we're going to add 9 on both sides. Again, how do we get the 9? We take this coefficient by the n, divide by 2, and square it. Okay. All right. This side over here, we're going to factor. What are two numbers? Good thing the a value is 1. So what are two numbers multiplied by 9 but add up to negative 6? I hope you said negative 3 and negative 3. And then we can also simplify this part as well. This is 99. And then remember when we factored from our first review, if we see two of the same things, we can factor that a little bit more as n minus 3 quantity squared. Okay, I'm going to write it twice for notes purposes because we have to undo the square. To undo the square is a square root. So we're going to square root both sides. So these and these undo each other. So you're left with n minus 3 over here. Okay. And then I can do square root of 99. And we're going to add a plus or minus because we can take both positives and negatives when we do the square root of both sides. 99, we're going to break that down into two numbers, two factors, and let's just see if we can get some pairings over here. 11 times 9, and then 9 we can break that down to 3 and 3, so I see a pair already. That's going to go on the outside, so n minus 3 is equal to plus or minus 3 radical 11. So the 3, 1 of it just goes on the outside. The number that didn't have the pairing goes back on the inside of the radical, if there are some leftovers. Okay. Again, we're solving for x, we're solving for the variable, so we're going to add 3 on both sides. So this is going to be n is equal to 3 plus or minus 3 radical 11. And now we can just split that up. N is equal to 3 plus 3 radical 11. And n is equal to 3 minus 3 radical 11. Might be a little bit hard to do this one by hand. So if you want to grab your TI-84 and plug that in inside this equation here, it should come out to 8. Okay. All right, we're going to do it one more time with number 2. And then we'll move on. And I think I'll just stop the video. We'll move on to the next section. Okay, number 2. Again, when you have quadratics, you just want to move everything in one place. I think what I want to do actually is I'm going to add 8m squared on both sides. So now I have 1m squared minus 10m minus 99 is equal to negative 3. And then by procedure, I kind of want all the constants over into one side so we can do the completing the square. So that's what I'm going to do as well. This minus 99. I mean, there's some techniques where you don't have to do this, but this is just one way. 96? Yeah, 96. Okay, let's take that middle term. We are going to divide by 2, which is -5. Then after that, we're going to square it, which is 25. So to balance the equation, we're going to add 25 on both sides of that equation. So let's do that. I'm going to stop writing 1m squared and just write m squared minus 10m plus 25 is equal to 96 plus 25. Okay, we are going to factor the left side. What two numbers multiply to 25 but add up to -10? I hope you said, or will say, m minus 5 times n minus 5. 96 plus 25, I hope it's 121. 6 plus 5 is 1, we group the 1, yeah. 11 plus 1, 12. Again, let's condense this even more. This is m minus 5 squared. And I'm going to write it twice for notes purposes. How do you undo a square? You are going to square root both sides. M minus 5 is equal to plus or minus, don't forget that. And 121, that's a square root. I mean, we can square root that. Square root of 121 is just an 11. Add 5 on both sides. M is equal to 5 plus or minus 11. And now we can separate that. And let me just do the plus first. M is equal to 5 plus 11, which we can actually do on hand. So 16 is the first one. And then m is equal to 5 minus 11. So 5 minus 11 is -6. So you can have a variety of answers. You can have whole number answers. It really depends on this last part over here if you can square root it. So if you can square root it, more than likely you're going to have whole numbers. But if you cannot square root it evenly, the square root of 99, then you're going to have to break it up and try to find some pairs. The pairs that you see go on the outside one time, the leftovers go back inside the radical. Okay, so just be careful with that. And again, if you plug in 16 or -6 into these variables, they should have that number equal that same number that they've produced on both sides. Okay, I will see you on the next video for this portion.